Hello, my name's Brawny. I'd like to welcome you to the first of what will probably be a series of videos based around answering questions people have about their musical hardware. In this first instance, I've been asked by my very good friend Luke Hansfree, who's a talented DJ known for the London techno and D&B nights called Proximo, and he's also the co-founder of another called Plex. He's also host the more eclectic Unbox show on Threads Radio, where he basically plays tunes that he has received in the post. A really nice selection of stuff, as always, from Luke, and I quite enjoy dabbling in that. So, Luke is one of many proud Deluge owners, and due to us not being able to pay each other a visit, I agreed to make a video for him and answer the question, what can I do with breakbeats on the Deluge? And I thought this might actually be a good resource for others, along with a couple of other friends. And so I thought I'd do it in this format rather than address it directly to Luke, although it is for him. Anyway, there are artists who are already mashing up these breakbeats on the Deluge. One good example I've come across is a chap called Double Zero, who definitely seems to have a handle on mashing them up. Does some great stuff, and highly recommend checking him out. He probably doesn't even know me, but yeah, worth a listen. Anyway, to mash up breakbeats, there are two approaches: working with a one-bar breakbeat as a whole, or using pre-sliced samples. So there are disadvantages and advantages to both, and I'll just go through those. So working with a single bar sample, for instance, or maybe a 2 or 4 one, but we'll go with single bar for now, is that it's just quicker to get working on something. Very little preparation required. All you need is your file on the SD card, load it into the Deluge, tell it to slice it, and you're ready to go. The disadvantages to that is that it can be a little less accurate for live break samples. Obviously, a drummer doesn't play as perfectly as a electronic drum machine, and so when you come to playing back those samples, you might not get the transients between the eighth notes sounding perfect, and you might get the odd click here and there rather. So yeah, there is that, but there are actually ways around it and to make it sound smooth or like the original break, or just making it all gel together a little bit better. Then there's the pre-slice samples. So the advantages to that is they're obviously as accurate as your slices are, and so you go to a computer, you can edit it in a nice visual display, and then save all those into a single folder on your SD card. Put that in the Deluge, and then just tell it to load the entire folder. And provided you've named the files alphabetically or alphanumerically, it will load those files in that order. So you could have 3 versions of a breakbeat in there. You could call them break A1, A2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, B1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. So you could have lots of versions of the same break to give you quite a few options in a single kit. And in both cases, I suppose there is some degree of preparation and foresight into what you actually want to do, or what you might imagine doing. So it's good. It's good to have the pre-sliced option. It does have its advantages there. You can't, in both cases, you can't actually add another slice sample into the kit that you've already got a slice sample kit into. Basically, if you import a sliced sample or a folder full of if you import a whole sample or a folder of slice samples, you can then only add one more sample at a time afterwards. So you do have that limitation there, but it's not too hard to work with. It's obviously just takes a little bit more time, and you don't really want things interrupting your workflow where possible. So hopefully this will just give you a good start anyway. So first I'll begin with a 1 bar breakbeat sample, the notorious Amen break. So you've got to make sure you have your break saved on the SD card, in the samples folder structure, obviously, and then that's ready to load into the Deluge. So after switching it on, all you need to do is press Shift and Kit. That will automatically put you into the mode to load samples. From there, you can browse through your folders. I'll go to my Brawny, and then Breaks folder. In here I'll go into my classics, because the Amen is of course a classic break, and then there's my Amens folder. Now here are all my different versions of the Amen break. I'm going to stick with the Amen 2 here. That's the nice cleanest one. So now all I need to do is push and hold the select button, and this will then give me two options. One is to load all the samples in the folder, which we don't want in this case, or we can do it in slices. So obviously we want slices, so push that, and then it will ask me how many slices I want. It's just one bar, so logically it'll be dum dum ch 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 dum ch ch. So there are your 8 samples. You could obviously go for 16 if you really wanted to get jiggy with the the amen break, as a lot of people do, but you know, good just to practice keeping it simple to start with. So we'll push that again, and that will load those samples into your amen break. So we'll put those into the sequence, and you'll probably notice already that the notes don't actually continue on to the next, and it's actually audible as well. So if I play that, you can see there's a gap between the sound, each part of the sound. And even if I turn the tempo up, it still seems to be a bit gappy, if you get what I mean. So the main reason for that is because it's in a particular play mode, which is called once. Now, it's not really a major issue. You can use the envelopes on each of those sounds just by pressing shift and then the envelope options along here, and you can change the shape of any of those individual notes. But to do it as a whole, obviously it can take a bit of time. So obviously to do it as a whole, there are different modes. So first thing I do is set it to effect entire up here, and then hold down shift and press mode, and this will take me to different modes of sample playing. Now if I want to change the mode for all the samples in the kit, I have to hold down effect entire and turn the knob, and it'll take you through the 4 different options. So you've got once, which basically plays the sample once, the one we just heard, but you've got that weird cutting off effect. Loop, which will just loop the samples over and over as they're played. Might be a bit of a nuisance when you're playing them amongst different bars like that, so you don't really want that. Well, I'm sure it does have its uses. Then we've got stretch mode, which will basically stretch the sample to the length of the note that you want. You define the length of the sound regardless of time. And then finally we have cut mode, which is the one we want just to start with. So let go of that now. That's in cut mode. I just need to push that. I'll put all those samples into cut mode, and then I'll take all those off. But if I put them in again, you'll see they are now 2/16 long. So if I play that, you'll see that's nice and smoothly playing back, more or less as the original sample. I think originally it was 155 BPM, but you can go a little bit quicker if you want, or slower, and it seems to do a too bad a job. But you'll notice there I've gone a bit slower, and just between that sample and that sample there's a little click, which is an example of why the disadvantages to using Deluge to slice up your samples is what it is. So, you know, pre-sliced samples might be something that you prefer to use if you really want to have nice tight sounding samples, but you can also use envelopes on the individual sounds as well. So I could just push that down, press waveform. You can see here it's actually got that little section of the waveform, so I can zoom in, go across, and get to the point where that sample ends. And to get rid of that click, eventually get there, just there, so I could probably move that across a little bit. Maybe it was the wrong sound. Anyway, hopefully you get the picture. I'm not going to go into any great depth with that, wasn't meant to. But yeah, go back to this, set it back to 155 just to give you an example of how much fun you can actually have with this now. So there you have it. Now, one good thing with this obviously is that I could have that cutting off notes. Zoom in on those, make them even tighter, shorter. You can get some really nice sort of choppy sounds out of that, doing that. You've got those options there. So obviously we've got that, that's pretty cool. But let me show you something else. So that's one way you could work with a kit that's made up like that. The next option, if I hold down Shift, press mode again, remember to press Affect Entire and do stretch, and then tap that. So now we're in stretch mode. You can hear it's actually trying to cram all those snippets of samples into these long snippets. So let me zoom back out again to 1 bar, and I'll get all these turned off. So we've just got 4 stretch notes. And as you can see, it's given a nice time stretch effect. Could also do so, as you can see, a lot of effects going on there. Now you can actually obviously put stretch mode on for each individual sample if you want. So if you only want to stretch the snares, you could press Shift, Mode, and press Effect Entire. Turn that stretch to once or cut. And you've got a normal snare and you've got a stretch snare there as well. So, you know, there's a good bit of flexibility. There's the one thing I love about the Deluge, it's very versatile on a per instrument basis as well. And in addition to that, I could add a load of reverb to this. So I'll press and hold that down, press the reverb, and that has a lovely little reverberation to that one snare alone. And you could do all kinds of things. I could push and hold that down, cut off. So yeah, lots of options, really are. Love this machine. Anyway, there we have it. You've got quite a few things going on there. One thing to note, as I say, you can actually add more samples to the kit. So if I now just press Audition and Load, go back to the aiming break that I just loaded, so I could load that. Now I could load it again. Again and again. So I've got 3 aiming breaks to work with there. Again, I have to set these to cut mode or stretch, but cut or stretch are really the best 2 to work with in these kind of circumstances. So that's that one done. Obviously you have to do these one at a time now. You can't affect entire because you'd be affecting all these ones underneath. So go back here, hold that down, press mode again, do that in cut mode, and press this one again. Oh no, go back, press that, mode again, and so we want this last one in stretch. Got that, but luckily we can actually also edit these waveforms. So if I hold that down, press that, they only want to go from the first snare there and only play up to the 4th 16th or the end of the 4th 16th. Go back. Now you realise that I've actually got Effect Entire on. So when I start affecting these, it will actually affect the whole kit. So you have to remember to turn that off if you want effects on individual notes. So yeah, we've got that just playing at a certain point from that sample. Do the same for this one, and maybe just go from there. And for the last one, let's just go shuffle near the beginning. Yep, there we go. So got those as well. Let's make it a bit longer, so hold down Shift and turn the left right knob, and that'll add another bar to it. And then on these top 3 samples here, I could add can't remember which one was. I think it was this one that was stretched, wasn't it? So, but yeah, I obviously didn't snip those up very accurately, but you kind of get the gist. You can basically load samples up and then set those up individually as well. But obviously, you save a bit of time just by preparing that initial set of samples there. Obviously, if I was importing a bunch of slice samples, I would at least save the time of it loading each individual one up. But again, you would still have to select stretch mode for each bank of the same samples that you might want to use. So you might want to have two instances, one with just playing in cut mode and then the other playing in stretch mode, so you've got that flexibility between the two. Hopefully I've gone through enough for you there, Luke. I will be willing to happily cover that in more detail if you want. There are things like drum rolls that you can use by holding the note down, pushing down on this, and then, oh no, it's not that, that's actually shift note left and right. It's this one that you want. So hold that down, push down and turn that, and I can tell that to repeat that note 8 times. See, it sounds a bit scrappy there because I've not, but if you zoom right in, you can see the note has repeated 8 times. Saves you a bit of time rather than zooming in, doing that, and then whatever. So yeah, you kind of get the gist there. And again, I could get rid of every other one of those. Already got that little roll effect there, and for each one of those I could then just set that off. So do that one at low, next one a bit further up, this one a little bit further up, and again, 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 last one. Again, that's not. Ooh. As you can see, I've zoomed in a bit far there, so it can be a little bit harder to work with. There we go. So. There we are, 2 bars with a roll, some reverb, all kinds of things going on already. And you know, it's only really down to your imagination what else you could do. I mean, if I wanted to, I could switch effect entire on, hold down the custom one knob there and use this one. You could do some proper old school bit shifting. So loads of options, as I say. Hopefully that's enough for you to go on for now. Have lots of fun, Luke, and everyone else. If you happen to make use of this resource, I will leave you to it. That's me, Brawny, for my first ever tutorial video. I hope you enjoyed it. Goodbye.